you got to deal with your failures. Because your failures of the past sit as a barrier, an emotional wall between the two of you.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, welcome to A Better Us and welcome to our home.
So have you ever thought of your marriage in terms of seasons? You know, spring, summer, fall, winter?
Now, by seasons, we're not referring to the length of your marriage, but more to the temperature or the life and the growth of your marriage.
For instance, spring is alive and fresh.
And winter, well, it can be pretty chilly.
Dr. Gary Chapman, the 5 love languages guy, he's going to walk us through these 4 seasons and give us tips on how we can spend more time in the warmth.
And speaking of heat, Bill and Pam Farrel are going to give us some ideas on how to rekindle the romance in our marriage. Now that sounds good.
Things just might heat up in the kitchen as we talk about all of it with our kitchen couples, CFL football great Mike Pinball Clemens and his wife Diane, and recording artist Dan McCauley and his wife Danielle.
So why not grab a coffee and stay with us?
I want to talk about the 4 seasons of marriage. It's not the idea that you start out in spring and if you live long enough you'll get to winter. No. I use the seasons to describe the quality of a marriage. A winter marriage is cold and harsh and bitter. We're hunkered down in the igloo. Spring marriage is the opposite. It's alive and exciting. Summer marriage is relaxed. We've learned how to solve some of our conflicts. We're enjoying life. A fall marriage looks good on the outside, but in about 6 weeks, the leaves are going to fall off and they're going to be into winter. So I have a little quiz in the book on the 4 seasons of marriage to determine what season you're in. Now, one husband took it and said to me, Dr. Chapman, I took the quiz and it said that we were in a summer marriage. My wife took the quiz and it said we're in a winter marriage. So which is it? I said, you're in a winter marriage. If one of you thinks it's winter, okay? But what I want to talk about is how do you spend more time in spring and summer? Let me give you some ideas. First of all, you got to deal with your failures, because your failures of the past sit as a barrier, an emotional wall between the two of you. And you're not going to get back to spring as long as that wall is there. We got to deal with our failures. Learn how to apologize for the past, learn how to forgive each other. Then we got to choose a positive attitude, because in a winter marriage, you've got a negative attitude. You're just trying to stay out of each other's way. You don't want to get into another argument, so you're just living separate lives. You got to look for something positive in the other person. You got to look for something positive in the relationship. At least you're still alive. You don't have a dreaded disease, or maybe you do have a dreaded disease, but you're living today. You look for the positive things. And then make sure that you're speaking each other's love language. You didn't think I'd talk and not mention the love languages, did you? You got to learn how to speak each other's love language and do it every day, even if you're in a winter marriage. Speaking the right love language can melt the ice and begin to move you towards spring. And then learning how to listen to each other empathetically. What I mean by that is when you're dealing with a conflict, your spouse is talking, put yourself in their shoes. Try to look at the world through their eyes. Don't sit there and reload your guns. You know, they're wrong on this and wrong on that. Try to understand why they're thinking what they think and why they're feeling what they feel. And when they get through, say to them, you know, I think I'm understanding what you're saying. It's making sense to me. Wow, now you're not an enemy, you're a friend. Learning to listen empathetically is extremely important if you're going to get back to spring and summer. And then discover the joy of helping your spouse succeed. If your spouse says to you, you know, someday I'd like to take a course on journalism or anything, you've heard them say that along the way. Why don't you think in terms of how could I help them do that? Find a way to help them succeed in something that they have on their heart and they have in their mind that they would like to accomplish in life. It's better to give than to receive. Remember that proverb? So help your spouse succeed. Help them do something they would really like to do. And then maximize your differences. Certainly you have lots of differences, but see them as assets, not as liabilities. You know, my wife and many other people, she doesn't know how to keep up with car keys. I mean, the most common thing she says is, "Where are my keys?" Folks, some people are not wired to keep up with car keys, but I am wired to keep up with car keys. Isn't it good she married me? Because I can find her keys. So you look for ways to maximize those things. One of you is a planner. You know, you plan everything far ahead, make sure it's all working right and you get it all. And the other person is spontaneous. You know, well, let's use both of those because both of those are important. My wife has pulled me into more things that I didn't really want to go to, but once I got there, I enjoyed doing it, you know. Her spontaneity gave me a wonderful experience. So maximize the differences. These are some of the things that can help you spend more time in spring and summer, which is what you wanted when you got married. I believe we can spend more time in spring and summer if we simply apply some things and do things differently from the way we've been doing them that led us to fall and to winter.
Gary Chapman, great to hear from him. And what a fabulous metaphor kind of for marriage are these 4 seasons of marriage. Winter, spring, summer, fall. We're with Mike and Diane, Dan and Danielle. And we're going to chew on this for a little bit here in the kitchen because we want to, as he said, stay in spring and summer. You know, spring, you kind of think usually of newlyweds, you know, that kind of that spring, everything's new and just budding and springing up and excitement and all that. But how do you kind of stay in the spring and summer? He had some good points there, didn't he? You know?
I know, it's difficult to think of how you could just live your life on a daily basis and stay in spring. I mean, because life happens. You have good days, you have bad days, but I think what he's saying is we need to overall develop good habits with our spouse so that when we have a bad day, we don't stay there and allow things to kind of get cold and frigid and, you know, die, but to kind of bounce back and say, no, we're not going to stay there. We're going to, let's spring to spring. Hey, see how I did that?
It's interesting because there are cold days in spring. Right, they are right. So in springtime and in summertime, you know, we have rainy days that are tough days and inclement weather, thunderstorms sometimes in the summertime. But we can get in that season where, although it's storming, you know, we still have there's still some control here.
That's it.
Good point.
That's good.
I like the analogy of seasons because seasons change, and there's seasons in life in general, and I think we appreciate some seasons, particularly here in Canada, where the seasons are very defined. We appreciate some seasons more because of other seasons, and I can't help but watch this, and I'm thinking of someone who thinks, well, my marriage has been in winter for years. But the idea that can change, that that's a season, that if we begin to do the right things, that the season can change. Because sometimes we can look at the whole and just write off our marriage, saying we made the wrong choice, or there's no hope. There's always hope, and it's a season. Even if it's been a season of years, that we can start sowing those seeds and turning up the temperature and doing the things that begin to bring the change. That there's hope to get back to spring, hope to get to summer.
What I hear you saying is look back to when you did have spring in your life, what in your marriage, what were those seeds, what were those things that were there, because they're probably still under the surface. They might be buried under a blanket of snow.
Need to be watered.
But they need to be dug up and cultivated and watered.
And putting some effort into it, because normally when we're thinking weather-wise, you're in the winter, you think, oh, can't wait for summer, and you just kind of wait.
Yeah,
and
you wait.
You don't have to
That's
do
true.
anything,
That's
you know,
true.
but it's not the same with this, because if you want to get to summer, you got to do something different. You got
That's
to
right.
get to spring and summer,
And
so
and I
effort.
think there's a greater reality for some people that it's been mostly winter, you know, especially in young marriages, right? Sometimes, and they never really have gotten going. But he gives really practical tips here to help you to facilitate moving forward. I know there are a lot of things that Diane's good at that I'm not so good at, and she's learned to embrace those and help me and cheer me on rather than beat me up with those things, right?
But the one thing that hit me in this segment was when he said, listen to each other. Just listen to each other. And there's a, I don't know if you realize this, babe, but Michael's watching some TED Talks. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. And I was in the kitchen doing what I do, but I'm listening to whoever was speaking, and the one thing that she said was, most of us don't listen with the intent to understand, but we listen with the intent to reply.
I love actually what he says there. Don't sit there and load your gun. I'm like, oh, what a great
Like,
way to
so-
say it. You're talking, but I'm not really listening. I'm like, I'm packing my muskets. Yeah, finish talking because I'm almost done here. Now, here's what I think.
Trying to think,
Yeah.
what's my comeback? What am I going to say next?
Yeah.
Instead of just listen to me. Hear what I'm saying, feel my emotion, feel everything that I'm saying to you so that we can talk about it, right? Don't listen and just, okay, I got my comeback. I'm ready. I'm ready. Right? So when you say, did you hear me? You're like, huh?
And more to that point, she even said, those things that are going through your head, those responses are useless. Let them go. Just let them pass, right? Don't try to remember that response. Do the listening.
Be in the moment.
And that will spurn what should come next.
Exactly.
Right?
Not just the listening. I noticed a common thread through all of those things that Dr. Chapman was talking about is selfless. Being selfless. When you listen, when you cheer your spouse on and help them succeed and all those things, a mature couple has to be a selfless one and put the other one first. And I noticed that was something through all of those things. Yeah.
And I like when he said, learn to listen empathetically. So you're actually, like you said, you're not listening to respond, but you're in the moment, you're hearing what they're saying, you're putting yourself in their shoes. What are they going through? You know, that must be really tough. Instead of, yeah, well, you make it hard on me too, buddy, you know. But really say, you know, honey, I know sometimes I run late, and I know that really frustrates you. And I'm so real life situation.
You want to get into that here? we could go there.
But you know, no, really. Instead of having my comeback and say, well, if you gave me more time.
Yes.
But say, I'm sorry. I know that's really hard for you, that it's a pet peeve, and I'll try to do better. I think if we just organized our lives a little bit better, maybe we wouldn't have that ongoing stress or whatever. But just really to learn to listen empathetically.
And to forgive the past. You mentioned that too, not to keep bringing up the failures. I know there's been, it's a wall. There's been times where maybe I have felt like I'm not only dealing with the moment, but I'm dealing with all the mistakes I've made in the last however many years. And like there has to be some forgiveness because I can't, I don't have a time machine. We can't change those things, right? But we got to move forward. But if we're just stuck at you did this. Yes, I did.
Yeah, this is so good.
And
This
speaking
is
of
so good.
moving forward, stay with us and we'll move forward into some more great teaching and we'll be back here in the kitchen with the guys and the gals.
I always try to remember to put the toilet seat down. See, and when Danielle squeezed my hand, that doesn't always mean I love you. Shut up, shut up, shut up.
Hi, we hope you're enjoying the show.
You know, our vision at A Better Us is to see every marriage become a loving union that creates a safe family haven, building a legacy of hope for future generations.
That's why we feel it's so important to invest in marriage relationships through producing a new episode of A Better Us every week.
Absolutely. If you feel as we do that marriages are worth investing in, then please consider joining us as a member of A Better Us with a monthly donation of $25.
You'll be making a big difference in lives and families, and we'll send you 2 of our special mugs, the mugs that you see our kitchen couples using each program.
Absolutely. And be sure to send us your mugshot selfie, and we'll post it on our Facebook page and on our website.
Simply visit abetterus.tv and click donate to set up your automatic monthly giving. God bless you, and thank you so much for making this program possible and helping us strengthen marriages.
So we can all become a better us.
One of the most important and simplest ideas to have a love that lasts a lifetime is to have some romantic rituals in your relationship. Those are those simple things that you do day in and day out to keep that atmosphere of love and romance going. For example, just before you hang up the phone, always say I love you, or at the end of every text message or email, say I love you, or say I love you when you hand the car keys back and forth. It's those simple habits that add up in a big way.
And we started a romantic ritual in our relationship when we got engaged. We decided that we were going to kiss each other every time we prayed over a meal. And so anytime we were together, any meal we had, we would kiss one another. And it became this routine part of our relationship.
It's just a part of the fabric of our love life. And if we're at a big banquet, say, and our kids think that we're distracted, they'll flag us down, be like, the kiss, to make sure we remember to do the kiss.
Right. And usually we're sitting right next to each other at a meal, but sometimes we'll go out with friends and we'll be sitting across the table from each other. I'll actually get up from my chair, walk around, make sure that I give Pam a kiss before we start eating.
I mean, it's so much part of our family. We were just with our grandkids and our 4-year-old grandson. We had prayed over the meal, but he was a little distracted, and he's like, "Stop! Wait! Nobody eat!" We're like, "What, Rocco?" He's like, "Papa, kiss Nana." He was expecting the kiss.
And I'd already done it, but I thought, why not take a second opportunity?
And when our son, Zach, was first dating Kaylee, who is now his wife, we were going to meet her for the first time. So we were going to have a meal together. And Zach had told Kaylee about this romantic ritual. My parents always kiss each other after they say grace. And Kaylee said, "Every time."
She just couldn't believe that there were any couples out there that consistently did this type of thing. So we showed up for dinner and Zach said, "Can I pray?" We're like, "Sure, Zach, go ahead." So he prayed. I reached over and kissed Pam. And Kaylee said,
"You're right, Zach, you're right." Yeah, every time. In fact, we've been married now almost 39 years, and we haven't missed a kiss after saying grace. And it is like, you want to pass on that legacy of love, right? And so we were with our oldest son, Brock, and Hannah, as they landed from their honeymoon at the airport. We had breakfast together before they flew back east where they were going to live. And I said, "Oh, Brock, hey, you want to pray over breakfast?" And he's like, "Sure, Mom." And then he turned and he kissed Hannah. And I smiled, and Hannah said, "It's a Farrell tradition," passing that legacy of love from generation to generation.
And the power of these romantic rituals are in your commitment to them. I had a couple come to us at a conference and say, "Hey, that thing you do, kissing each other after prayer, do you do that when you're upset with each other?" And it got me thinking, yeah, it doesn't really matter how I feel at the moment. I have committed to do that. It's a commitment I made, not a convenience I'm trying to work into my life.
It's hard to stay angry at somebody that you kiss that much.
And what romantic rituals do is they keep tuning up your heart so that rather than getting frustrated and irritated with the person you're married to, you remind yourself, oh yeah, I'm in love with this person.
But one of our favorite examples of a romantic ritual was it's a Canadian couple, and we were on a cruise with Ron and Ann Maines when this story was shared, and we just love it. One of the women said, "My dad has been, he was really sick, and he was on hospice care, and my parents, they early on, when they were newlyweds, they decided that they wanted a way to say I love you, but without any words. And so they would simply hold hands and squeeze 3 times. I love you. And you might be walking with Nana and Papa and they would squeeze your hand 3 times, I love you. Or maybe a family saying grace, and at the end of grace, squeeze 3 times, I love you. Or you might catch them at church squeezing 3 times, I love you. It was so much a part of their family. She said at the end of my dad's life, and he had been on hospice, he hadn't been talking for a couple of weeks. And she said, I was standing in the doorway and my sweet mom was next to my dad's side where she had been. And with his last breath, Dad reached across that hospital sheet and picked up the hand of the woman he had loved for a lifetime and simply squeezed 3 times. I love you. So pick up the hand of your love of your life right now and squeeze 3 times. I love you.
Well, great to hear from Bill and Pam Farrell, and kind of a touching story there at the end.
I love that. We were all like, oh.
Well, we are back in the kitchen with Mike and Diane, Dan and Danielle, and romantic rituals, even the little things that seemingly insignificant, but has big significance to the couple.
Those are the bricks that build a strong marriage. It's the little things here and there and stacked on top of each other. It's finding something that's special just to the two of you and doing it often. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything brilliant or, oh, that would make everybody else go, oh. It could just be something silly, but it's something that only the two of you know about. I love that.
Any romantic rituals that come to mind?
I see it percolating over here.
Well, for Mike and I think a couple that we do. One, whenever he says, "I love you," I'll say, "I love you more." Right, so we'll go back and forth. No, I love you more. No, I love you more. Right, so
I love you most.
That ends it. That ends it.
And then another one that I like to do is any time of the day, when I realize, I'll look at him and say, "You haven't kissed me today. Did you kiss me today?" Right, and he could be mid-sentence.
Yeah.
"Did you kiss me today?" Oh, and then he'll just lean in and kiss me, right? So it's just those little things, right, that make a difference.
I like that.
Pet names. So she's Boo.
Boo. Okay, the secret's out.
She used to be Pumpkin, actually. So that's how I started. Pumpkin. Yeah, so they didn't get all the letters in there, right?
They're both kind of Halloween analogies.
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny, and now, like you said, with kids, things go over to our kids. Like when I call him by his first name, my girls were like, "Why are you calling Dad Mike?
Yes.
You never call him Mike. Like, what's wrong? Like, right?
Now we all know, what do you call him? What is that name?
Bay. Right? So, but I always just call him Bay, and they're like, "Why should you say Mike, Mom?"
Are you mad?
Well, I know what that means if she calls me Ron or Ronald Wesley, then I know I'm in trouble.
We've witnessed that.
Oh, you have?
It's during games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's a little competitive when we play games. That's true.
You know what that's like?
Yeah, but we've always kind of had the honey thing.
Yeah.
But then a while ago, like a long time ago, I started calling you Treasure.
Yeah, that
and
was about 20 years
kind of became
ago.
a pet name.
And I love that because I know when he calls me Treasure, it has so much meaning behind it. It's not just a name, but there's actual meaning behind that he actually treasures me and sees me as a treasure. So that's sweet.
Are there romantic
What about you
rituals?
guys?
I always try to remember to put the toilet seat down.
Yeah.
See, and when Danielle squeezed my hand, that doesn't always mean I love you. Shut up, shut up, shut up.
I don't know. I was watching going, are we as cute as Bill and Pam? I don't know. I want to be like that when we grow up, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe a couple pet names.
There's some pet names and some inside jokes and things, probably.
But it's good. I was thinking, it's like you said, it's the little things, and you would know Mike through training or something. Little habits, daily disciplines. Those are the things that bring success, and so little romantic gestures create a romantic marriage. So it's good.
And something as simple as opening the car door. Right? I remember one day we were out to dinner, and I stood there because he always opens my door. And he went around and got in the car, and the girls were like, "Mom, really? You're going to stand there and make Dad get out of the car?" I was like, "Yeah, he always opens my door." So he gets out of the car and he opens the door. They're like, "Mom, you're spoiled."
Yeah, but there was a lady, and that comes from, right? A lady told us, or told me when I was younger, right? Says, it takes a lady to be a man. And so, in other words, a lady sometimes has to teach, right? A man the other things that he needs to do.
Allow you to do those things.
Little habits. We have friends who they went on a cruise on their honeymoon, so every once in a while, out of nowhere, they'll text each other an emoji of a cruise ship. Just as a memory thing. So just little things. It doesn't have to be big things. Well,
So get in the habit of some romantic rituals. You probably have some already. Maybe you need to dust them off and maybe get those going again. But good stuff, guys. Thanks so much for being in the kitchen with us again.
stay with us. There is more Better Us to come.
ever felt like you're standing around in a minefield within your marriage and like, whoa, I hope I don't set something off here? The reason that you might feel that way sometimes is because there's things that are wounded. There's wounds that are buried in all of our relationships, right? But especially marriage. And so if you feel like something from the past is, kind of coming up and surprising you, it's because it was never really dealt with when it should have been dealt with. It's not too late. You can still do that and dismantle landmines in your marriage.
Sometimes those landmines might be things that are wounds between you, and other times they might honestly be wounds that you brought just because they're a part of who you are. Yeah. And that's why one of the things that may surprise you to know is that one of the best gifts you could ever give your relationship now, your marriage, is to work on how healthy you are as an individual in the context of it.
Absolutely, and that means keeping things fresh. That means having some sense of self-awareness. And if there's some buried woundedness in your own life, that means dealing with that to be a healthy person. Or, like Leslie said, it might be in your relationship. Either way, the idea is to make sure you're dealing with it. Don't think, oh, we'll just bury that and move on. It never goes. I often say that those buried feelings have a high rate of resurrection. So don't think that just because you buried it, it's going to go away. It won't. Make an intentional point of dealing with it on your own as well as together in the relationship.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann here. We're so glad you're with us at A Better Us, and we pray your marriage is blessed as you take this in.
Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and enjoy this video. Well, it's been great hearing from Dr. Chapman today, as well as Bill and Pam Farrell. We're all looking for ways to become a better us.
I love the insights from Dr. Chapman on the seasons of marriage. I never thought of it that way before, but it is so true. It's easy to get stuck in a chilly season. You're busy, the kids are a handful, and maybe you've both forgotten to stoke that fire of your relationship.
As Dr. Chapman said, there is hope to thaw out a winter marriage. It takes work to change seasons, though, to stoke that fire. But you know what? It is so worth it.
Maybe you're at a point where you feel like winter will never end in your relationship. Spring and summer are only fond memories. I want to encourage you that winter can end. You're not alone. Your loving God, who created marriage, longs for you to enjoy the best of what marriage can be.
Don't give up. It's never too late, especially when you invite God to do some heart-level work in your relationship, some melting and softening.
If you'd like to pray with someone about what you're going through, our toll-free prayer line is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's there for you, so why not take a moment now to do something that will be so good for your marriage.
Thanks again for stopping by. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
You can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.